The Mediterranean diet has been voted one of the top diets for 8 years now from the US News and World Report, and for good reason. It is rich in vibrant plant foods, full of flavor and spice, and it's super hearty and satisfying, making it an easy diet to follow. No wonder this Mediterranean diet has the highest adherence rate compared to any other diet out there. The problem is, no one seems to know where to start. We have heard the recommendation, eat more plants. But what plants and how much? We have also heard that protein is important. How much protein do we need? And are eggs okay? Another common fear I hear is the Mediterranean diet is too expensive, or I just simply cannot find those foods in my grocery store. But let me fill you in on a secret. As a dietitian for 10 plus years, the Mediterranean diet has surpassed all my expectations, and let me show you why. But first, a quick story. In the past, I have worked with multiple different diets, from ketogenic to high protein, low carb, high carb, vegetarian, you name it, I have worked with it. And let me tell you, the Mediterranean diet is the diet that I would still recommend to my family and friends, and for good reason. The Mediterranean diet is connected to a host of improved health outcomes. Typically, we see improved blood sugar, reduced weight, improved heart markers and reduced risk of heart complications. It can help with preventing things like stroke, improved cognition, longevity, you name it. There is some connection with the Mediterranean diet and improved health overall. The Mediterranean diet is actually one of the most researched diets because there is such significant health outcomes. So now you're thinking, okay, well, let's just get into the diet. So the Mediterranean diet describes the diet patterns of the populations that live in South Europe surrounding the Mediterranean Sea. At the core, the Mediterranean diet focuses on mostly unprocessed foods, whole grains, nuts, seeds, beans, fruits and vegetables, healthy fats like olive oils, including fatty fish, and even small portions of lean meats and low-fat dairy. Another important aspect of the Mediterranean diet is the lifestyle that comes with it. This includes socializing with friends and family, getting out in nature, movement, physical activity. It's all part of the Mediterranean lifestyle. Okay, but let's break it down further so you have some actionable steps. Let's start with the basics, okay? We're going to start with choosing 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. A serving is typically a half a cup cooked or 1 cup raw. To break it down even further, the best way to look at it is 1 to 2 servings with each meal. Try to aim for a ton of colors, greens, reds, oranges, purples. You'll get all the different flavors and the nutrients, but also keeps this diet from getting boring. Next, we're going to choose whole grains. What we're going to choose is mostly unprocessed whole grains, so you're going to see them mostly dried. I've also seen some frozen. Focus more on the foods like wheat, barley, rye, brown and wild rice, buckwheat, quinoa, oats. Those are really good sources of whole grains, especially when you're swapping out white starches for the whole grains. You will see some benefit there of increased fiber, increased satiety, and increased nutrition. Choose healthy fats. You guys, this heart-healthy diet is not a low-fat diet. But what we are going to do is choose the right types of fats. Those are going to mainly come from plant-based sources. The staple fat in the Mediterranean diet is the extra virgin olive oil. Other fats include nuts and seeds, nut butters, avocados, fatty fish, olives. Those are all amazing sources of healthy fats that you can add to your food each meal. Fun fact, choosing 1 serving of nuts per day actually does connect with reduced risk of heart disease. So if you're used to reaching for that bag of chips in the afternoon, try to swap it out for a handful of unsalted nuts, maybe pair that with a piece of fruit. Okay, here's a controversial one, protein. Quick disclaimer, protein needs vary depending on what stage of life you're in, what metabolic condition you're in, what your nutrition goals are, and what medications you're on. But what we do know about the Mediterranean diet is protein is more of a side dish rather than the main dish. A typical serving size you would see is about that palm of your hand and the thinness, but with each meal. Protein choices do matter. We're actually going to choose more plant-based proteins on this diet. Those might include beans, lentils, nuts and seeds, nut butters, soy. Choosing more plant-based proteins is actually going to increase your fiber, your phytonutrients, your vitamins and minerals. It's going to improve your gut health, your heart health. So quick tip. If you're used to eating animal protein with each meal, maybe start with 1 meal per day, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, where you swap out an animal protein for a plant-based protein. The animal proteins we're going to choose more from in smaller portions are going to be chicken, turkey, fish, eggs, and low-fat dairy products. I'm going to bring up a controversial topic. Can I eat eggs? Yes, you can eat eggs. So in the past, eggs were super controversial because they're pretty high in cholesterol. But what we're seeing nowadays, the cholesterol we eat doesn't directly affect the cholesterol that's in your blood. All that being said, aiming for about 4 eggs per week or less is probably a good goal to aim for. The other protein we recommend focusing on is fatty fish. Fatty fish are high in omega-3s, healthy proteins. They're really good for the heart and brain and longevity. We like to aim for around 2 to 3 servings of fatty fish per week. Those are about 3-ounce servings. The fish that are highest in that healthy omega-3 fat are going to be salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. Another controversial topic is dairy, and that is because it's high in saturated fat. So a general rule of thumb is aiming for a lower fat dairy, so about 2% fat or less. And you can have this dairy up to 1 to 3 times per day. The Mediterranean diet is actually rich in fermented yogurts, kefir, and even some unprocessed cheeses. So go ahead, have some dairy if you enjoy it. Okay, what should we be drinking? Let's be honest with ourselves. Water is really the only essential drink that we need to survive. In fact, it's important to know, actually one of the top contributors of calories in our diet is sweetened drinks. But what if you do the sugar-free alternatives? There's still some controversy out there on artificial sweeteners. So if we can avoid sugary drinks and artificial sweeteners, that's a preference, but that's another topic for another day. Outside of getting the adequate hydration that you need, a little bit of coffee and tea actually can be beneficial. There is research out there having around 3 cups of coffee or tea actually have some benefits for your heart, your liver, and your brain. Coffee and tea are actually really high in antioxidants. So if you're looking an alternative for water, maybe try out some unsweetened coffee or tea in place of that soda. Okay, this is the moment you've been waiting for. What to avoid on the Mediterranean diet? I'm going to start with protein choices. It is true. We want to limit red meat, including ground beefs and steaks, pork and pork products like ham, and processed meats like breakfast meats, deli meats, and hot dogs. Limiting these products can actually make a huge difference on your overall health. Aside from those meat choices, we do also want to limit overall saturated fat. Quick reminder, saturated fat is the fat that's solid at room temperature. Yes, this includes fatty meats, butter, coconut and palm oils, and some high-fat dairy products. This is why we're going to opt for more lean meats and plant-based proteins, the low-fat dairy products, and choosing more plant-based healthy fats. The Mediterranean diet is actually fairly low in sodium as well. What most people benefit from is having a sodium goal of less than 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. And I'll just be completely honest, the majority of the sodium we eat is coming from processed foods anyway. So our priority here is really just limiting processed foods, restaurant foods, and too much seasoning with salt, and choosing more fresh foods, home-cooked foods, and foods that have not been pre-processed. Okay, the other thing, of course, is we want to limit added sugar. Hear that again, added sugar. I'm not talking about fruit. I'm talking about added sugar from things like sweetened drinks, cookies, cakes, pies, the added sugar. How do we find that? Typically, it's going to come on a food label. It's coming from your processed foods. When we're looking down at the food label, we're going to see the carbohydrate section, and then towards the bottom of that section, you'll see the added sugar. That's what we're looking for. How much added sugar is considered moderation? For women, we want to stay under 25 grams of added sugar per day. For men, we want to stay under 35 grams of added sugar per day. And just for reference, 1 can of soda averages about 38 grams of sugar. You can see how that adds up very quickly. Okay, another controversial topic, alcohol. Look, I'm a wine drinker myself, but it's important to just know the facts about alcohol. Yes, there is a connection with specifically red wine on the Mediterranean diet with improving heart markers like improved HDL cholesterol. Do you want to hear a secret? Exercise can do that for you too. More and more research is coming out that alcohol actually increases risk of cancers, and so it's just generally not recommended. That being said, Often when we're drinking alcohol, we're socializing, we're having a good time. There might be moments and times where it makes sense. If you don't need it or if you don't drink right now, there's no need to start. What's considered moderation? 1 drink for women per day, up to 2 drinks per man per day. Okay, wow, we went through a lot. You know how I said before that the Mediterranean diet by far exceeds all my expectations from other diets? And that is because the Mediterranean diet can actually be adjusted to anyone's preference, culture, religion, whatever it is you like, you don't like, we can adjust based on what you need. And that's what makes it my favorite diet. What do we do from here? What do we do with the information we just went through? Well, first, before changing anything with your diet, always confirm with your doctor or your personal dietitian that it makes sense for you. Second, most important, focus on 1 or 2 things at a time. Try not to change everything at once. This is a lifestyle. We want it to be maintainable. Small changes make the biggest difference. Okay, guys, after that 2 to 4 weeks trial with swapping out a few things, come back to this video. Go through it again, maybe add another 1 or 2 changes to your diet. Before you know it, you're going to be on that Mediterranean diet. Y'all, don't forget, I've been a dietitian now for 10 plus years, so I have seen it all. I have talked to thousands of patients on different questions or concerns. So comment below or head on over to my website, thenashvilledietitian.com, and just chat me a little message on there, and I'll try my best to respond as soon as I can. You guys, and don't forget to stay tuned. Subscribe to my channel. You'll never know what video comes next.